The following is a Fourth Hand production.
Hey everybody, welcome into Sad Times. My name's Kevin. We're excited to be here this week just to let you know kind of what the show's about if you're a first-timer. Each week I have a guest on, and that guest and I kind of have some discussions about some times that he or she has been sad, has been anxious, has been mad, upset, things of that nature, and how they felt during that, what their reaction was, how their loved ones reacted, because I do believe that we as people I think we would benefit, I guess, by being a little more open about our struggles, so that we can all kind of become a little more empathetic. I know that when I understand the struggles of others, it helps me kind of even in day-to-day life. So that's kind of the goal of the show. Also, wanted to thank everybody who has been downloading episodes. You know, we're moving right along. You can always reach out to us at sadtimeskc@gmail.com. We are there. And so without further ado, let's get going here. Today's guest, Raymond. Hey, Ray.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, it sucks because it's baseball off season, but hey, whatever.
Go Cubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let me ask you, when did I meet you? Like a year and a half, 2 years ago? How long has it been now?
Coming up on 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, and were you reading that Simpsons book by Springfield Confidential?
Actually, I accidentally jumped in on a contest, and I won the contest thing, and I asked on the producer, Brent, if he knew anyone that liked Simpsons, and he brought up your name. So I just so happened to bring it by.
What is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love The Simpsons, and man, I just got Disney Plus, and they've got all 30. They've got the first 30 seasons on there, and it's very pleasant to watch during the day. I will say, not sad about that at all. So I met you almost 2 years ago. We did an episode of Hysteria 51 together. Great show. And where are you from?
I am from Burn, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago.
Okay, it's like Southwest, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you go to school? Like college, rather?
Yeah, I did. I went to Southern Illinois University.
You're goddamn right you did.
Exactly.
Carbondale, about 40 years after I went there, but still, pretty good. Salukis, go Salukis.
Amen to that.
And so you grew up in Berwyn.
Speaking of Simpsons, do the Saluki strut.
Do the Saluki strut. Thank you, producer Brent. So you grew up in Berwyn, and where do you have siblings?
I do. I have 4 siblings. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
Wow. Now, where do you fall in the line of that?
I am exactly the middle.
You're the middle, 2 above and 2 below, huh?
Yes.
Like my dad, same thing, male. Now, what older brothers, older sister?
2 older sisters, 1 brother that is, let's say, 2 years younger than me, and then a younger sister who is 3 years younger than me.
Wow. And are you close with your siblings?
With 5 siblings in one house, you kind of have to be. Yeah.
How big was your house growing up? Like
it was pretty big. I mean, it's so my brother and I shared a room from probably birth until he turned 20. Now, granted, I went to college for 4 years, so he got 4 years free of me.
Yeah. Or what we call a Ray respite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then my older sisters and younger sister had to share a room up in the attic for up until about 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that like? I'm trying to think. I don't believe I ever shared a room with my sister. Does that drive one nuts? I mean, the closest I had to that was when I got to the dorms at SIU. I was like, what? Why is this person so close to me all the time?
Imagine, so in my family, we had 5 siblings, and none of us liked the same things, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine 5 siblings, people you live 24/7, basically, except for school, 24/7 together. And imagine trying to interact with each other
And none of
20
you like
years.
the same thing. What do you mean? Like, what's one thing you like that maybe your sister didn't like?
Sports.
Sports, yeah.
1,000% sports.
Mhm.
In fact, when I was a kid, from about, let's say 6 until 18, I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. to watch sports. And as soon as someone else woke up, they got remote. They changed it to something that they wanted to watch.
Did you have no say in that?
Nope.
No.
Because when it came to that, it was cartoons, and and the rest of the family liked it. So it wasn't. Looking back on it, it wasn't a bad idea. Why would you force 4 people to watch sports if they don't like it? If one person likes it,
Yeah.
but the deal was, unless there was a game on, it had to be today. Let's say it's 2019.
Yeah.
Blackhawks hockey.
Okay.
The game had to be today.
Uh-huh.
If it was yesterday, remote goes to somebody else.
So it had to be a live game that
Yes.
you're watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's like growing up, but it worked because I got to know a lot of stats, a lot of games, that kind of stuff. And it sucked because as soon as someone woke up, if it was 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 6:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give the remote to somebody.
I was going to say 6:30 p.m. I like the way your parents roll.
Yeah.
Forget school. Just get up when you want. You know?
Yes.
So you guys obviously didn't agree on stuff. Did you guys fight a lot?
1,000%.
Yeah.
It was. Imagine a WWE cage match, 24/7.
That, like, actually physical fighting?
Sometimes, yeah.
And what did you find yourself fighting with one particular sibling more than the others?
No. For me, it was my 2 younger siblings,
Uh-huh.
just because we were closer.
Yeah.
But it could have been anybody. It really didn't matter. My oldest sibling, she was a few years between us.
Uh-huh.
So my second oldest sister is a year older than me, and my younger brother is about 2 years, and my youngest sister is about 3 years. So us 4 were much more likely to fight than the
How much
oldest.
older is your oldest sister than you?
5 years.
5 years?
Yes.
Okay. So there's 4 years between her and your other older sister.
Yes.
Okay. Did you feel left out, or did you feel part of a unit?
I guess it depended on what happened. If we were in trouble, it was you're on your own.
Yeah.
Because my parents worked more than 40 hours a week. Each.
Yeah.
It was my
What did they do?
So my mother was a massage therapist at some points. She taught, she did anything and everything that came with it.
Uh-huh.
My father worked for a airline. He
Mhm.
still does, but he worked could be from 40 to 60 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We never knew his schedule because he never knew his schedule. It was
changed from week to week?
It could.
Okay.
At some points it did, at some points it didn't. Sometimes it was days.
Mm-hmm.
And this just changed within like 6 months from this recording. It just changed to weekdays 9 to 5.
What people consider a normal schedule.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how long has he been working there until he got that normal schedule?
It must have been about 20 years.
Wow.
Close to 20 years.
Would he be really stressed out about all the changing schedule, the late night stuff?
1,000,000% of the time. And because closer to about 5 or 6 years ago, he became a manager of that airlines of some sort with the ramp. So he was from, let's say he worked at noon, from noon until the last flight came out. It could be 10 p.m. It could be basically 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there until the last flight came out.
Did he get overtime? I
No.
hope. No?
No.
That seems
And that
sad.
was that was tough on the family
Yeah.
because we didn't know his schedule, and based on when he got off, when he got on, it was we had to follow his schedule.
Were you close with your dad?
Not as close as my brother.
Your brother is closer to your dad than you are.
I believe so, yes.
Why do you think that?
So my brother and I and my dad, we joined 2 different volunteer organizations.
Okay.
Boy Scouts and what we call Civil Air Patrol, which was...
Civil Air Patrol?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And basically, the Boy Scouts, everyone really knows Boy Scouts. It's merit badges, ranks, that.
I did Cub Scouts, never made it to Boy Scouts. Cub Scouts are like, walk in a straight line. I said, what is this, a fucking DUI arrest? And I quit. Anyway, go ahead.
As you should.
Yeah.
So my brother and I
was
went
also
from,
drunk, but,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So my brother and I went from Cub Scouts from the very early ages until Eagle Scout, which is the
Are you an
highest
Eagle
rank.
Scout?
Yes, I am.
And your brother?
Yes.
That's pretty fucking cool.
So we got that, and my dad kind of did a good job with saying, you got your Eagle Scout before you do anything else in volunteer organizations. So we got it, and so mine took a little bit longer because of other reasons in the troop, which is fine. My brother got it at like 16, which is good, but he was able to join the Civil Air Patrol as a cadet, which is the basic kids from 12 until 21. He got the spots, which is a general in Air Force, which is the highest rank. So he is one of the few people to get the spots because it's a high ranking thing. An Eagle Scout. My dad also got the spots cadet thing, so he and my brother connected on that part because they both were able to join as a cadet, and they both got it, and so they connected on that part.
Did you feel not having that connection like you'd let your dad down?
1,000,000%. I still feel that today, probably.
And just because of that, or just in general?
In general, probably, but also that is probably 50% of it.
Did your dad say anything to you about not getting that specific rank?
No.
Okay.
So his rule, which is a good rule. So let me say that rule really quickly because it's a good rule. It was school is top. And if you do good in school, you get to participate in volunteer organizations, which is Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is second highest. Get your Eagle, and you could do other things. So my brother got Eagle at 16, 15, around that time, which was 2 years over what I got, which is 18, which was very close to the deadline. So he was able to join CAP, and he got his spots because he was able to promote on time. So it was one of those things where I wasn't able to join CAP until I was a senior member. I'm 2 years into it now, but it wasn't as a senior member. So I had to get up to a position.
A senior member?
Yes.
Okay. Is that because you're older?
Yes. So over 21, you are a senior member, which is helping the other cadets, which is the kids, get to a position to do good. That's what I do. That's what I strive to do. And so it sucked because my brother got to do the cadet program. My dad got to do the cadet program as well, but I wasn't able to because it was just a planning wise.
Being the middle of 5, what was your relationship like with your mom? Were you closer with her than your dad?
Yes, but also it was one of those where I didn't want to upset her because she had probably 2 jobs at one point, plus 5 kids, plus other things going on. I mean, it was very stressful childhood. Not stressful for me, but for my 2 parents, it was stressful.
Just making ends meet, things of that nature.
To the point where, so my parents moved to Dallas just recently. My 2 older siblings and my brother-in-law. moved to a different city, and we just found out that there was much more trouble than we thought, that we knew. And it sucked because we knew it was happening. But
wait, sorry. If I may expand on that, your parents just moved to Dallas lately.
yes.
And did you say that your two sisters and your brother-in-law moved to Dallas as well?
No, we moved a city over, basically.
And what was do you want to talk about the trouble or just kind of move on from that?
No, and that was basically there's trouble that happened as we were kids and we didn't know, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of shone through that I didn't know that it was happening, but we got through it and it was good. But I didn't know that some of the things were happening, and it was stressful for everyone really, because you have young family going through things.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just tough.
And when did you find out about the bad stuff? The trouble, we'll call it the troubles. It's not Northern Ireland, but
probably like 2 months ago.
Do you want to talk about that or move on? All right, we'll move on from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that your dad, first and foremost, school.
Yeah.
And then Eagle Scouts, etc. Or excuse me, Boy Scouts. So tell me about school. Most people listening to this, I'm sure, went to school, starting preschool, kindergarten.
Yeah.
What was school like for you starting out?
It was hell. From kindergarten till basically till high school.
What hell? What do you mean?
From at least elementary school all the way through elementary school, it was the two class. So the elementary school in the suburbs of Chicago, you have two classes. There is it was not divided up to any way necessary, but you had the whole class up against me basically. We had it was
up against you. Like, were they all making fun of you? Is that what you mean?
Yes, it was all making fun of me, all trying to either make fun of me, go after me, whatever it may be.
Did you have friends?
Back then, I would say yes, but looking back on it, no.
So I see. So at the time, you thought you had friends, but now in retrospect, you're like, no, I didn't really have friends.
Exactly.
And what would they tease you about?
It could be a lisp. It could be the way I dress. It could be about anything, really. Anything and everything that they could think of.
Yeah. And why do you think they singled you out like that?
Because I was gullible enough to allow them to.
Okay.
It was everyone kind of like, well, that one person is not liking them, making fun of them, or whatever it may be. And they just ganged up on me. And yeah.
Yeah. So when you would go home, like what as that happened, I mean, what did that feel like?
It sucked.
What were you thinking as it happened? Were you mad? Were you sad? Like what were the things? All of the above?
I think it was all of the above, but also what can I do differently to make them like me?
Yeah. And what can you remember things that you thought would change the tide?
It could be who I hung out with, who I talked to, who I made rumors about. I remember in 4th grade specifically.
Yeah.
I remember trying to start a rumor of somebody else, but boy, did that blow up on my face.
So you were trying to say, well, hey, I have a rumor about Kevin over here, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
And when you say it blew up in your face, why? Or what does that mean?
Right off the bat, they're like, no, that no. And they kind of started using that, saying, oh, you're going to try to go off with somebody else? Oh, we got a solution for you, basically. We got a way of fixing that for you, basically.
Were you physically bullied?
A few times.
Yeah.
Not to the extreme of like black eyes or anything, but basically like yes, yeah.
So your eyes were not like you didn't have visible signs really, but
Exactly, yeah.
okay. Were your siblings aware that you were bullied like that?
No.
They didn't know. Okay. What about your parents? Did you have anybody you could talk to about it, I guess is my question.
No. And to the extreme also, I to my teachers like no. That's BS. Go away.
Your teachers were saying that it was not happening.
Exactly. So I remember in 5th grade, kind of going forward, in 5th grade, there was a person that would like kick me over under the desk, and I had a physical bruise, about the size of a shoe, a shoe, like a beginning of a shoe. And I would show it to the teacher, and like, oh no, you can get it from anywhere. So none of the teachers believed me. None of the people would back me up. I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want to escalate it. I knew from there you don't escalate it.
Why? Because you thought if you escalate it, it'll just be worse?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. What were so I was actually just talking to my sister this evening, and she told me that in a small town near where she lives, a 10-year-old girl hanged herself from bullying. And so it's I can't even fathom that. It's just so fucking awful.
Exactly, yeah.
But that was at the front of my mind before we even started talking, right?
Yeah.
So how I guess that leads to my next question, which is how did you kind of get past it all? How did you maybe survive? Well, I'm going to use the word survive. How did you survive it?
It was books and Cubs games. That sounds weird.
You too?
Yes, it was. And this is the weirdest part. It was radio games, like listening to the games on the radio.
Of course.
Pat Hughes and Ron Santo. I don't want to use extreme, but they helped me get through those times because I was listening to games. I was away from whatever it is. And books, I could in my head I could paint pictures of whatever it was. I could put myself in that area and just read. And even nowadays with podcasts as well, I could, if someone's telling a story, I put myself in that area and just listen to it. Mm-hmm. So that's what it was. I was at Wrigley Field 182 or I was at a baseball stadium 162 times a year.
Pull that like just 1 inch away from you. Just move it forward. There you go. You're just a little hot. There you
go.
Yeah, that's amazing. What kind of books would you read?
It could be nonfiction, mostly nonfiction.
Nonfiction. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a history guy. I love history. It was. I can't remember the name of the thing. If anyone in the audience that's listening to this knows it, it was basically like a different time in history and I. So like it was like a Babe Ruth and I, or the Babe and I.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would read those and I would just put my place in the quote unquote I.
And so that was you could escape that way.
Exactly.
Did you go to the did you get those at the library a lot?
The school library.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I would, when I was in elementary school, probably 3 or 4 days a week, I would go to speech therapy and reading therapy. Even though reading, I probably was a grade or two above reading in my grade.
Okay. Your comprehension level?
Yes. Mm-hmm. But I would go to reading and I would go to speech, and I would check books out above my range. But we had tests online that we'd take, and if you pass it, you get points, and the points met points in your grade for reading, whatever.
Tests online?
Yes.
Sorry, I was just thinking about when I was a kid. There's none of this online nonsense. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
And so it was funny because the speech teacher was horrible.
What do you mean by horrible?
Well, I remember a few times I was called a certain word that we don't use nowadays. Basically talking about how I use the speech and how I talk. She would say, you sound like a blank.
Jesus.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How long were you in speech therapy?
Probably from first grade until maybe even sixth grade. I don't remember when we stopped.
Okay.
But we used flashcards, we used anything and everything. And I would have a block, specifically me, 1000% me and only me, would go down to those classes and take the speech therapy classes. And after a while, the teacher would just basically be like, whatever.
What do you mean? The speech teacher would say whatever?
Basically, like, this is useless. Why are we even spending this time?
She sounds terrible in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I'm sorry to hear that. So you said that when you got to high school, it got better. The bullying got better. Is that right?
Yes, because we had more people. So
you were able to kind of find your own niche?
No.
I
was able to get away from the niche from kindergarten until fifth grade, you had the people that you went to elementary school with, and they would all,
yeah,
both classes, no matter what their history was, were able to go up against me. From 6th until 8th, you get a few people that didn't really care, and they would interact with me enough to say I had, again, back then, I thought I had friends. Now I realized they used me to basically copy off of homework.
Huh. Yeah. Okay.
And then from freshman year until sophomore year, it was really only a few people that followed me from elementary school onward. Because I never moved districts, basically. I would just go up and follow...
Same people every year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In different classes. They would know... They would basically sketch out like, okay, let's get him this time, let's get him this time. So it was... So sophomore year, kind of after that, it stopped because I didn't care.
Did you feel the relief from that?
No,
and
not
letting
really.
go? No.
Because, again, back then I thought they were just making fun of me because they were trying to get me to be cool. And so if I followed their directions...
You were trying to conform.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And after sophomore year, I'm like, fuck it. I'm done. I'm not going to conform to what they say. I'm just going to do me.
Yeah. And so did you feel a lot better after doing that? Or just kind of feel numb? Or
at that point, it was numb. It was to the point where I got a few beatings. I got this and that. But I'm like, whatever.
Did you... And still yet, you didn't have anybody to talk to about it? Or you didn't... Not that you didn't have anybody. You just didn't talk to anybody about it?
Exactly. I never ever talked to anybody about my bullying situation.
It's a lot of shit to carry, man.
Yeah. And looking back at it, I probably should have. But at that time, there was no one to really talk to because different siblings had different things to deal with.
Yeah.
And my parents never were really at home when we were home.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother raised us, basically.
Okay. Mom or dad's side?
Mom's side.
Mom's side.
So, and she was, at that point, she was probably like 75. So at that point, her bullying thing is like...
She's Brent's age?
Pretty damn close.
A couple years younger.
Yeah.
Only a few.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
He still chased her.
I'd have got it if it wasn't for the hip. Mine, not hers.
So at that point, it was one of those, and even she, with raising at her point 6 kids as well. She raised 6 kids. Even her, she had the hard mom type thing too. Where I was reading, and I remember reading Lou Gehrig's speech.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm looking at this man alive.
Yep.
I would choke up because it's emotional.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Come on, read the text. Come on, it's right there.
Oh,
and I would get
she
choked
wanted
up.
you were reading out loud and you would get choked up.
Exactly. So she goes, read the words. Come on.
Yeah.
Read the words. And I would just get choked up, but I couldn't. So she goes, well, okay, we're done. Whatever.
So she didn't deal well with emotion then.
Because she was, I don't want to say too old, but she was out of out of touch.
Yeah, a different generational thing.
Which is fine. And looking back at it makes sense. I agree. I never agree, but I understand where she was coming from.
Yeah.
But it still sucked because I felt stupid, really. I felt stupid from the speech therapy, from the reading, even though I was reading probably a grade or two above me.
Mm-hmm.
But it still sucked because I didn't have anyone to talk to because my parents were working and we wouldn't see them until late at night. And if it was late at night, she goes, go to bed.
Your parents would... Well, let me ask you this. Do you think not having that outlet, not having somebody to talk to about that, internalizing all of that, is that still affecting you today?
Yes, 100%.
How so?
When it comes to talking to different people.
Ooh, what does that mean? When you talk to different people, like, is it more challenging?
Yes, it's trying to find a way of people like me. Trying to find the one niche that gets people like me.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, I like you, Ray. Even before this.
Yeah.
I mean, mainly it was the Pat Hughes thing, but, that's neither here nor there. So throughout... sorry. But that's just such a lot of shit to carry, man.
Yeah.
And to carry it alone. I've always been lucky enough that I've always had my sister. I've always had people I've forced myself on. I've just confided, and they're just like, I don't want to listen to this. I'm like, well, you're going to listen.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry that you had to go through that. That's a lot to deal with at that age.
Yeah.
At any age, really.
Yeah,
So
exactly, yeah.
And even at those times, what about romantic relationships? Did you get into that, at all in high school or?
No.
No.
Actually, as a bad fact, there were some people that jokingly asked me out.
Jokingly?
Yes.
Girls would jokingly ask you out, and then would you say, like, yeah?
Yeah.
And then they would laugh at you?
Yeah. In my face. Yeah. Like, oh, you thought I was actually serious. Oh, good for you. Kind of thing.
Well, that makes me really fucking mad.
And then I was used. There was one girl I dated for like a week, and then I found out a week later, like, oh, I was just using you. What are you
using you for what?
For somebody else.
Oh, it's like a okay.
Like a decoy, like, oh, you think you could date someone else, I'll get someone myself, and like we would date for a week, and all of a sudden, like, oh, well, he's broken up with or whatever, so we're done. So
have you ever fallen in love?
No.
You don't think so?
That's because of probably because of the bullying I faced from kindergarten till sophomore year, because to me I'm not sure if they're serious or not, so why dive into that if I don't think they're serious?
Yeah. Do you still deal with that? Do you still worry that the seriousness, for lack of a better term, the serious factor? Excuse me.
Yes, 1,000%, including friendships.
With friendships too.
1,000,000%. Because remember, I never really had a friend until college, like a real friend. It was always they used me for something or they used me for information. In elementary school to middle school, it was let me get information to bully them more, to get more information to bully them on. And college, I met a supervisor, but afterwards we became friends after he was supervisor. And then after college, I met one good friend, and then I've met luckily, I've been able to make friends after that because of that one person. And so it's always tough to figure out if they're real friends or if they're just using me. That's what I think. Are they using me or are they actual friends?
And you're just you find you're suspect of anybody you meet.
Yes.
And then how do you get past that, or do you not?
I mean, it's been about 2 years since I met the good friend, and not trying to figure it out, but I'm still suspect of it. I still try to figure out what's going on. I mean, I've been on trips. I've been able to dog sit, really. I still think to myself, what's the angle? I know there's no angle really to it, but back in my head, it's like there's a small chance. Because I had good friends in elementary school and in middle school that turned out to be assholes, really. So it's a point of not really being able to trust anybody until at some point I'll break it. Hopefully.
But you don't feel you've hit that point yet.
I'm pretty damn close to the good friends I have now.
Good.
To the point where it's like if not, it's a sick practical joke, but goddamn, they worked their ass off, so I'm okay with trusting them.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So on that point, I think that we're going to go to a little bit of a break. Just because that's just a lot. First of all, thank you so much for. Sorry, I keep dropping that bottle cap. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Ray. That's a lot, and I think it's really brave of you to share that. And it's a lot to deal with, man. So let's go to break real fast here on Sad Times, and then when we come back, we'll get into the happy shit. No, I'm just kidding. It'll still be sad. All right, we'll see you on the other side, everybody. Ray, I just spent the whole break laughing. That was just fucking hilarious. So thanks for sharing.
You should.
Yeah.
You should, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, man. Again, thank you again for coming on and talking about that. So growing up, you didn't have a lot of people to talk to, as you've kind of covered. You went through a lot of shit. Did you ever have any role models, anything like that?
I did. So my cousins on my mom's side went to this one church, and every Wednesday there was a youth group, and my siblings and I went to it, just off of a whim. And the pastor there, we became like I would look up to him because, well, might as well.
Well, he was the leader of. Was he the leader of the youth group?
Yeah, and he had good sayings, good things, and he was having fun. He would play games with us, like the activities. He would do it with us, and it was fun. Yeah,
yeah. So, and that was something you probably look forward to, similar to looking forward to the Cubs games, and
every week it was after the meeting, after the youth group thing. I'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you started going to that?
Middle school, so 11, 12, till about 18, really.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was in a youth group with my church. I fucking loved it, man.
Yeah.
I still look back very fondly on all of that, and it was just wonderful community, all of that. So you had this role model, somebody, and he was with the youth group the whole time you were in the group?
Except for the last year, he moved to Ohio.
Well, that's too bad for him.
Yeah.
No offense. I just lived in Ohio once, and it was a dark time. So when he left, was that hard on you?
A little, but it was one of those like, well, I have other people to talk to. That's fine, whatever. And it worked out for the last year. It's like, well, I got what it was like 12 meetings a quarter, whatever. So
do you still talk to him?
Nope.
No,
1,000% no.
Why not? Did you follow? What happened?
Well, it turned out that he had a few skeletons in the closet.
Skeletons in the closet, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
It turned out that he was a person that a leader in different volunteer organizations all over the church type.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned out to be a sexual predator, really.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it came out about a week or two before. My mom called me at college, my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that phone call. She goes, by the way, before you hear it from anyone else, here's information. I remember distinctly saying, nope, that's not him. That's not him. And I remember the next day hearing that he drove from Ohio to Illinois to turn himself in. He pled guilty on all counts, spent time in jail, got his pastoral thing taken away.
Mm-hmm.
He could not talk to anyone under the age of 18 if that wasn't his kid. All that stuff.
So this happened. That excuse me. That came about not long after you'd left the youth group, and not long after you said he left about a year before. So how did that affect you?
It was devastating.
Why is that?
Because it went from someone who I could look up to all of a sudden be like, oh, he's a monster. He is a monster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He manipulated somebody. He went after somebody. And it also made me think who, because now he was part of two different organizations. I wasn't sure. The article wasn't clear on which one to go off of. So it could have been someone that I knew. It could have been someone that I didn't know. It didn't matter to me because it was something that happened. And it sucked because I thought, oh, it's false. Because the church didn't like him because he left.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he came in and said, no, that was me. It was me. So it sucked because he 1,000% did it. He pled guilty. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yes, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucked because it went from somebody I could look up to all of a sudden be like, no, he's a monster. Gone. Done. Don't want to talk to you ever again because I can't. At that time I could, but no.
You chose not to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, what year did you graduate school? College?
College, 2016.
Pardon me. Sorry. Something in my throat. Okay, so you graduated 2016. You came back up to Chicagoland area from Carbondale?
Yes. Yeah.
And then kind of fell in. You're doing your job, doing all that stuff. And then you had let me know that around October 2017, some things started to happen. What was going on around the beginning of the fall, winter of 2017?
So my grandmother on my dad's side got cancer, and this was 2016 Christmas time, actually, really darn close to Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
So we found out that it was very, very rapid, bad. So she went through her stuff, and then 2017 October, she passed away. It was, unfortunately, or unfortunately, both. I was there. Most of my cousins were there.
You were like in the room when she passed away?
In the room.
Wow.
1,000% in the room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so with that, my job was, and I took it upon myself. My job was to get my younger cousin out of the room. She was having an attack, like a asthma attack or whatever it was, a panic attack. I got her out of the room, and then it was trying to figure out, one, what just happened, and two, like what happened basically, like for both.
Wait, sorry, what just happened to your cousin and what just happened to your grandmother?
Both. It was, how do I get my cousin from breathing like erratically to just being able to breathe normally? And then one, I knew what was happening beforehand because, so my grandmother before that was in a deep sleep, and then she woke up. So
Wow.
she was in a coma.
Mhm.
She woke up for 3 seconds, probably. So we all rushed into the living room, and she passed away. So everyone that was there was there.
And
When
this
she passed
was
away.
this was in October 2017. She
Yes.
passed away. Okay.
Yeah. So then my job was get the person that was hard breathing, get her out of the room because I knew what was going on. So I got her into my grandmother's bedroom, and just calm her down. And then it was dealing with what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough because we knew it was going to happen. She was terminally ill 3 or 4 months beforehand. So we knew it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. And then it just, one weekend, the Friday before, my brother and I visited her. And she was bad, but she was still there.
Uh-huh.
And then we went on a Tuesday to go visit her because it was like pretty damn close to being the end. And then she was deep sleep, but we were like, well, we know what's happening. Let's hang out with the family. Cool. And my cousin, my younger cousin, but older than the sister, came in and he goes, she woke up. I'm like, oh no, I know exactly what's happening.
Like you knew that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we ran in. I caught the very tail end of it. And I knew exactly what happened. So my job was, I saw my cousin just hard breathing. I grabbed her, not through her, but basically like hugged her through the hallway to the bedroom, sat her down, calmed her down. But I knew what happened. And we spent a few hours there just kind of dealing with whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
And it was tough because we knew what was happening. We knew what happened, but we also had to call the person to get her out of there. But also we knew we had to call cousins, we had to call aunts and uncles and stuff like that because that's what you do. And it was tough because my dad, who was the man, he was crying, sobbing. And it was tough because, like, that's new. Like, that's...
You had never seen him cry?
Yeah, exactly. It was tough because we didn't know, like, my family didn't know how to react. Like, we saw my dad cry, we were like, well, what's going on?
Yeah, when I was a kid and I lost my grandmother, much younger, but... that was the first time I saw my dad cry. And then the second time was like a year later, and he was talking about it, and then he said, but we didn't know what to do about it. And his voice got real weird, and I was like, what happened? He ran out of the room. So I drew him a picture of the Ultimate Warrior, and that was the last time we talked.
So I will say...
Just kidding, I still talk to my dad.
Back up a little bit. Yeah. My grandma on my mom's side...
The one who kind of raised you.
Yes.
Yeah.
She passed away in 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. And it turned from being, okay, sure, whatever, to being like, oh my gosh, any day career last. It was family weekend at SIU 2015. I know that because my mom got the call when she was taking me back to the dorm after the football game. To the point where we knew what it was. And my grandma was like, we knew she had cancer. My grandmother was like, whatever happens, happens. And I'm saying like, oh. So, that was September, October, it spiraled down. Just to the point to where it's like, any day career lasts. So my mom and I talked, and I'm like, well, Halloween weekend will be the week I go visit her. So I'm like, great, cool. So I remember I went to, again, what I thought was a friend's house, to his house, and I got a call from my mom. I'm like, hey, I gotta take this, walked outside. My mom's like, about the Halloween weekend? Yeah, that weekend's like now. To the point where it's like, she's gone. So like, it is like 72 hours away. I'm like, I can't go up there. She goes, oh well, like, sucks, but oh well. So the very next day, I wake up at like 5 a.m. and I see on Facebook my aunt posted that she crossed over, and I'm like, oh. So Halloween weekend was her funeral. So I felt guilty. It was.
You made it back for the funeral.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a guarantee, 1,000%. I'll get there. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the absences. I'll take the zeros. Whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go up there, and it was tough because I felt guilty for not being there. Every cousin under the moon made it to her before she passed away. And I saw her August. And so from August till about October, nothing. I didn't talk to her because there was no way to talk to her. Because again, late August, she started to spin downward to the point where she was like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. Now, she was 80 plus years old, so she was, whatever happens, happens. For me, it was, I needed to see her before, and then to hear the call from a week and a half before. I'm like, well, sorry. She's gone. Like, so I felt guilty for not seeing her. So it was good.
Do you still feel guilty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the second semester, I went to therapy for that. Because I felt guilty because...
You went to therapy down in Carbondale?
Yeah. Because
hey, that's where the best therapists are. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, the deal was, it's one of those, well, there's free therapy if you need it, and we'll... Like, it's the first, I think it was like the first or second meeting free. I'm like, well, I'm not 100%, I was not 100% then. And so I went down there, and one day I'm like, well, let me go down there, and I was an RA back then. So I'm like, well, let me see what they have to offer, air quotes. Let me see what they have to offer, and I'll see what's up. I could tell my students, whatever. So I go there, and I tell the story, they're like, oh, well, that sucks. That was like the response.
That was the therapist's response?
Basically, like, well, it sucks, don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I was a week before. I was 7 days. I was about to book the Amtrak ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom calls and says, never mind. We'll let you know what happens.
Yeah.
And it sucked because, again, that grandmother raised me. She raised us. She watched us, like, all that stuff. And all of a sudden, like, sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot to carry. But I keep thinking back to what you said a minute ago, which is that your grandmother said, well, what'll happen will happen. She seemed pretty okay with everything.
Yeah, so I remember growing up, she was a nurse. And the funniest thing she would tell us, and now the command is kind of funny, she was like, yeah, I would help people cross over because she was a nurse. She was a registered nurse. She goes, people are like, let's go, let's do this. I'm like, they would say that? She goes, verbatim sometimes. Let's go.
We're just ready to get it fucking going.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So, so I knew that's what she was. If she was conscious, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure if
you knew she was ready.
Yes,
she was. Let's go. Let's do this.
She was ready for about 10 years.
Yeah,
she was like, "Let's go. Let's do this."
It's weird. I'm on year 8.
And so, it sucked because.
Yeah, right. Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
So it sucked because one, she was the one person I could talk to, whatever it may be, and two is like I wasn't able to see her. I will say the funniest thing about that was the last word she told me physically was want to eat ice cream.
Yeah.
I was at my aunt's house, and
That's so great.
she was getting ready for like dinner or lunch, whatever it was. She was ready for dessert. I was saying bye, like I was getting ready to go to college. I'm like, oh hey, bye. She goes, want any ice cream? I'm like, no, we're good. So it sucks because it was meaningless, and I'm sure some of my cousins had more meaningful conversations with her. But
no, I love that though.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those funny things. Yeah.
It's a really, I mean, I almost want to say it's profound. You want to eat ice cream?
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. So it sucked, and so I went to the funeral. We celebrated that kind of stuff. It sucked because it happened, but it's one of those like, oh well, she was grandpa, all that stuff. So back to 2017, 2018. My grandmother passed away, and we were kind of saying like that sucks. And we go through the funeral, that kind of stuff. It was nice. So that was October. November, late October, we find out my uncle, my mom's uncle, had cancer. Again, terminal. To the extreme of like, hey.
Your mom's uncle?
Yes.
Okay. So your great uncle.
My great uncle, but we knew him so well that we basically like it was guaranteed he was at every party. He had his techniques, whatever. Not techniques. He had his gimmicks, basically. So we go there, and my mom finds out, and she goes, "Oh." So he was a veteran, so we go to the local veterans hospital, and not me, my mom. She visits him a few times, whatever. And he passed away in November, like
jeez,
a week or two before Thanksgiving. And so we go Thanksgiving, and my grandmother passed away 2 years ago at this point, and then my great uncle passed away as well. So we had to deal with that, and it's sad, somber, that kind of stuff. So it wasn't bad, but that holiday was just draining, because when we had to deal with the ultra-religious, but also ultra-conservative, and also the sad time of having to deal with my great uncle passing away. So then, okay, so December happens, nothing really happens. January, my next door neighbor, who is 90, at that point 93, and who was like a third grandmother to me, to the point where she like every holiday, every birthday, we got a card from her and money, whatever it was. We would shovel her.
So nice.
Yeah, exactly.
You would Sorry, were you gonna say you shoveled her driveway and her walk?
Driveway, walk, stairs. Whatever.
So great.
Yes,
that's amazing.
So I remember being at my brother's basic training graduation thing. She calls me later. She goes, "Hey, I have a doctor's appointment at January 2nd, whatever it is. Oh, well, I'll go with you. Because I didn't have a job at the time. I'm like, I'll go with you. Whatever." So we get in a cab because she was 90 plus years old. All she knows is a cab. So we get a cab. We go to whatever doctor she needs to go to. The doctor's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Neighbor." He goes, "Oh, cool. By the way," he pulled me aside. "By the way, she's going to the hospital. She's gangrene. It's bad."
Gangrene?
Yes. I'm like, "Okay, sure." So we get in the car. We go to my brother-in-law was nice to pick us up. We go to the hospital like 2 blocks down. She checks in. We basically were the only ones that knew anything about her. To the point where, like, they called the sister-in-law and the daughter-in-law, and she basically knew nothing. So we gave her the information that we had, and we found out about a week later that she has cancer of the bile duct, whatever it was.
Cancer of the bowel duct?
Bile duct, yeah.
Oh, bile duct, like in her mouth?
No, in her liver.
Between your gallbladder and your liver.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they put stents in her, and she has to go to rehab. So we visited her every day, every other day, whatever it was. Like we visited her enough. And one day we visited her. My mom and I visited her, and she's talking, and she's semi-conscious. And when we saw her, she was in a wheelchair. She knew what was going on, but she was kind of like, I got food coming soon. And so we say hi, here's your mail, that kind of stuff. And I was the last one to hug her. The next day, my dad gets a call from her niece and says, by the way, she passed away.
By the way, I mean, what were they talking about?
It was enough stuff where we knew that she wasn't going to get out of that rehab center. She was like, hey, can you get this? Can you get that? Can you do something like that around the house? And then, by the way, we just got a call like an hour ago. And so that sucked, but it was tough. And then I was out of the job. I didn't have any job. So my job for then on for about 2 months was, by the way, you gotta clean out the house.
You cleaned out her house?
Basically, I cleaned out the clothes, cleaned out military stuff from her husband, all that stuff. I went through and tried to get as much stuff that they wanted out of the house. And it was tough because I knew her as like a grandmother. I had to read letters to figure out what she wanted to keep, what she didn't want. Like what
she didn't have a will.
No, she did, but there was letters that she sent that maybe she wanted to keep, maybe she didn't. I
see.
So like I had to read letters of her basically. Right, it was like secondhand letters to basically saying, "Congratulations on your Eagle Scout." I read my congratulations letter of my Eagle Scout from her. I read, like, thank you for shoveling my backyard, that kind of stuff. It was tough because for about 20 years, she was like a second grandmother to me, or a third basically. So it was tough because we had to deal with cleaning out the stuff that we didn't know what the niece wanted to keep, and there was no grandchild, and there was no like very specific things like, if it was military, let me keep it. If it's not military, toss out, that kind of stuff. So we had to deal with going through every letter to the T, like read every letter. If she wanted to keep it, we keep it to the side. If she didn't want to keep it, toss it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to read every letter that she sent for the last 20 years. And that was tough because, like I said, it was for the last 20 years. There were some letters that she sent talking about me and my family to her relatives. Basically saying, these guys are taking care of me. And for the last 2 Thanksgivings before she passed away, we had her over. We had to go get her to come over to eat Thanksgiving with us.
Mm-hmm. Because that's how it was. It was, you take care of her first and then us. So we had like a bad blizzard in 2011. We shoveled her yard 5 times probably. And it was tough, but we did it because we know that she would have done the same for us. If she was 6 years younger, probably. So then we go past December. January comes on, and I have another role model from a different organization I was part of, and he gets cancer. He find out he's terminal cancer in November, but we're like, well, he's good. He'll keep up. January, he passes away, and so we're like, another funeral, another person. It was just another one that's tough, but I kind of stuck it on because he helped me get into this organization. He helped me understand what's going on. There's another person passed away. It was tough because it was from November to about January, mm-hmm.
except for November, except for December, somebody passed away. So it was February that he passed away.
So is religion, like, how do you deal with that? How do I say it? We all have to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
You just had this very awful couple of months where it was just kind of stacked on top of each other. But what part, you said you were in a youth group at your church. What part does religion play in your life?
So very, very quickly, I wasn't part of the youth group of my church. It was my cousin's church. But I think...
Okay, gotcha.
Religion at that time, specifically at that time, played a very, very important role. It wasn't really they're going to heaven or they're going to hell, or whatever it may be. It was, at least I know what's kind of going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's the steps, quote unquote. And my grandmother, my neighbor, the person that was a role model, all those people knew they're going to heaven. And so I'm Roman Catholic.
Oh,
That was very important. We knew what was happening. We knew that stuff's happening, and we knew the grieving. It's like, okay, well, it's gonna happen, but we know what's happening of it. So it was tough, but it was also kind of relieving to know, okay, well, don't worry about them because they're in heaven, they're in whatever it may be. And probably from second until my 8th grade year,
mm-hmm.
I did Saturday school, so religious education.
Oh, okay.
And after that, I volunteered to do teaching classes. Like I taught classes, and it's just it's one of those things that kind of kept me grounded. Whether it be, unfortunately, and also through elementary school, going back to the previous part, I was bullied during Catholic school, which is odd. It's odd to think that.
Or apropos.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, that was my own comment on religion. Go ahead. Sorry.
But it was tough because through the education part, it stunk because I knew people I went to school with,
mm-hmm.
and they knew me. They knew what got me going and what didn't get me going. All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it stunk, but I kept it going, and because I was forced to by my grandmother on my mom's side. But you deal with it and you go along with it. And I was always with a teaching mindset, so I wanted to teach others.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I jumped into.
Okay. So
We're about an hour 10.
yeah, I'm gonna wrap up right now. Thank you. Ray, I mean, Jesus, just so much that you've shared today. And excuse me, if I may, for those listening who obviously cannot see, Ray had some tears in his eyes when speaking of some of these unfortunate deaths, and it's been a really moving conversation, Ray. Not only those deaths that you talk about, but also what you had to struggle with growing up, and how you dealt with it. Loved hearing about Pat and Ron, because I'm with you all the way, my friend. And I really appreciate you being on today and sharing your story. Not easy. And for anybody out there who's listening, I hope Ray's story resonated with you. And if you want to be a guest, you can always email us at sadtimeskc@gmail.com, as I said. We also have a Facebook group, which is, I believe, facebook.com/sadtimeskc, I think.
I think it's groups / sad times. Just search sad times.
Also on Facebook, if you search us, Sad Times, you'll find us there. Due to my own issue with self-promotion, we haven't done much lately, but hopefully that'll change soon. But again, Ray, thank you for being on, being so open. It means a lot. And I think it is a really great story, and appreciate you sharing it. And for everybody listening, stay sad out there. No, I'm just fucking with you. You guys have a good one. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
You've been listening to a Fourth Hand Joint.